Good morning and welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking at our summertime 11 a.m. I almost forgot, right? And then I just had one of these things. Did I post it in our group? I think I did, but I forgot to pin it to the top. I hope everybody found it. Busy times over here. Welcome back. Monday morning. It's like I don't even know what day it is right now when the kids are not at school. I am completely confused all the time. But it's good to be back. Good to see you. We are running summer hours right now. I will be with you on Mondays and Fridays for the time being. Life is so crazy and chaotic right now. I just got a bit triggered because I don't know how to relay on the website that I'm a one-person band over here, because it's like, when I start getting questions like, when is my order shipping? And it was just ordered like 2 or 3 days ago and stuff needs to be dyed. I'm thinking, are we a little too used to Amazon right now? I mean, it's just like, wow, who, give me a minute. I mean, I'm only sleeping 5 hours as is, right? We're making things work, but holy mackerel. Everything is just so busy right now. I want to catch up from the weekend. It was a busy weekend here, but a good one. So much going on. I'll explain what's behind me in just a minute. There's a bunch of things I want to talk to you about today. Happy Canada Day. That's the first thing I need to say. Happy Canada Day. Sorry, I haven't been on social media a lot this weekend because it was a lot of kid stuff and orders and dying this weekend. It was just crazy, which is great. It's great to be busy, not complaining, but I need more than like 3 days to turn orders around for sure. But I'm so grateful to have all those orders all the same. It's just, I also like messages with a complete sentence, like, when's this shipping? It's like, it's fine. It relays, the sentiment. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit old fashioned with stuff. I always write a complete sentence to somebody if they're, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to combine my books on antique samplers. If possible, okay. If not, I understand. Have a wonderful day, Deanna, kind of thing. But it's just turning into a different world fast. And you know how I know that? Teddy was on a sleepover on Saturday night. That's one of the things that skewered my weekend. And he was over with his buddies camping outside, which always makes me nervous because it's like, I don't want to, helicopter, but would you like to say good morning?
Yeah. Oh, I like the yarn. Oh,
Ah!
oh no!
It's
Oh,
you.
no.
I know, they can see that. They can see the unicorn spit doors. Good morning, sunshine. She's logging out. Yeah, he does want to say hi. Let's everybody say hi, and then everybody can go away. There we go. Okay, wait a minute. Let me come back over here. Da 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 da. Okay. No lickies. No lickies. There he goes. All right, you want to take buttons and start your day? It's a late start. So anyway, he went over there, and I was a bit worried because I'm always thinking, will the predator get my child while they're having a camp out? Of course not, right? I mean, hopefully not. But they had a nice time over there. But of course, I left my phone on overnight because I was afraid that he would text. He's not good at being alone. He's still got all that autism stuff going on, raging. And I left my phone on, and of course, it made the noise. What was the noise, Joss? It's like da da da, or it's some stupid. It's like a tune. Whew, literally 1,000 times. I put it on airplane mode because it interferes with my signal here. But man, technology is starting to get a little bit too much for me. So I was awake all night on Saturday just with the thing going off, and I didn't know how to shut it off, and I didn't want to turn the phone off because I thought, oh my God, what if a predator comes into the backyard and he's trying to reach me? What is wrong with me? Right, modern times. Linda, great to see you. It is July. Jocelyn, it's July.
It's July.
It's July.
It's been July.
It's Canada Day as well. Should say Happy Canada Day because a lot of our buddies are Canadians. Happy Canada Day. April, great to see you. Hello from sunny and warm Illinois. I forgot to let you know that you received the Halloween pattern. Fantastic. Let me know if you need anything else. Always. Shannon, I have to listen to your message. Great to see you. Happy Monday. Drinking some coffee to warm up on this cool morning. Cool morning with the windows open. Maybe we should have the windows open. Look, there's a breeze outside.
Way.
I just assumed it was another misery day, but it might actually be breezy. I was dying in the kitchen starting super early this morning and late last night, so I think I heated up the house to a kind of voltage that everybody is struggling and suffering again. I didn't realize it does look like the weather's changed a little bit. There was a crazy storm yesterday. Melissa, great to see you. Happy Canada Day. Michelle, great to see you. Good morning. I love the fireworks. It's we had some fireworks here this weekend. That's another one of the keep you up at night things because it sounds like a lot of different things, doesn't it? Boom, when you're not expecting it and it's not scheduled and it's indeed illegal, but it happens all over the place and it is festive. It's just a bit unexpected and it's hard on the animals when people are doing it, like in the street. I have no sense of humor anymore. I must have gotten old very fast because everything triggers me lately. Spins a good yarn. Good morning. Good to see you. It is sunny there in Northwest Pennsylvania. That sounds perfect. That's the noise. Make it so that that noise never happens again. Seriously, that I'm right at the end of what I can do with that noise. Cheryl, great to see you.
Hear it?
Let's hear it. So
All night.
like 1,000 times in one night. When orders came in, when people commented on posts, Instagram, go away, I'm running a show. Go away. And put my phone back on airplane, please.
It's on
Okay, go do your stuff. Um,
Bye.
and Cheryl says, hi everyone on this super sunny, breezy day. Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? I think it was a crazy storm blew through yesterday, and I think it made things really chaotic weather-wise, because it does look like windy as anything out there right now. Spins a good yarn. Hi, Linda. Karen, great to see you. Good morning from cool and cloudy Black Forest, Colorado. Sounds fantastic. Finally got some much needed rain. Yep, we did too. I guess we all needed it to cool things down. The windows are wide open, enjoying the homemade cinnamon roll. Oh, that sounds so good. I'm trying to do that thing where I don't eat until the afternoon. I had a coffee, but I'm trying not to eat till the afternoon because weight loss is just not happening. So I'm trying like every trick that I've ever heard of, and I am super super hungry and maybe hangry too, to be honest. Oh, thanks, April and Buttons. Saying hi to both. She is a firecracker, that little one. We have an in-house firecracker. Lena, great to see you. Good morning. Judy, great to see you. Good morning. Great email you sent this weekend. Great idea as well. I really, really liked that. Having trouble wrapping my head around the fact that it's July. It's crazy, isn't it? Dave, great to see you. Yeah, I mean, it's July, and I'm thinking, okay, so let's plan forward. I don't think that's going to affect, it is going to affect me because we're going to Vermont. We're staying over the 3rd and the 4th, so we come back on the 5th, which is Friday. So I'll probably run the evening show on a different night this weekend. I'll probably do Saturday or Sunday. I'll figure that out because we'll be coming home. And it might be that we're here, but it might be that we're not. Speaking of which, I had so much fun this past Friday visiting with my friend Naomi at Ravensgate Primitives. She's got her rug cooking business. She's got a great studio in her yard. I'm thinking, that's so good. I have a huge studio that I never go to anymore because it's overwhelming. It's never the right temperature. I've made a mess. I've made a profound mess. But I loved her studio in the yard. Thinking it's a really not bad idea for someone who's trying to focus on spending part of the day writing every day as well. To have like a studio like that that's like convenient, right? It doesn't involve traffic jams and road closures and stuff like that. And an incredible second set of bills, and then have other stuff stored like in the actual house. Why did I never think of that? It's handy right now, and I've got to go through and blitz and figure out what I want, what I don't want, because things have changed with the brand since the beginning. I did a little bit of everything at the beginning, and I still don't know where I'm going with the brand, but I'm pretty sure I love the rug hooking the most. I like to do a little bit of everything, but it's hard to say like. It's still hard to say rug making for me because I really mean rug hooking. And I try to keep the door open, right? So we can talk about all different kinds of mediums, and I love trying different things. But when I sit down, I seem to always have my hook in my hand. And I haven't been sitting down enough lately because we're working on this book. If you're new to the brand, I am full steam working on a Halloween book called The Haunted Rug. I'm just finishing. I've got like an inch left of the cover to do, but I've had to do all this dyeing, so I haven't had a chance. But it's pretty, but I might hate it. So I'll show it to you when I'm completely finished that last corner. But haven't been working on enough hooking at all, and I've got to get going. If you have time to do a project for the Haunted Rug book, I have a few projects left, like beginner and really advanced, complicated projects. So whatever your speed is, whatever your taste is, there are still some projects, and they don't have to be until like the end of September. I'm putting together the book page by page with the pattern and a blank spot. So I've got placeholders for rugs that I don't expect to have for months, but at least in my mind, I'm getting the text in. If you are working on a project for the book, or you're not actually working on hooking or making a rug for the book, um, and you want to add text, you want to add some kind of a cute family recipe, like a candy recipe, right? Everybody does different candy recipes, like those little square pretzels, and then a Rolo, and then an M&M, and into the oven for 2 seconds, and everything fuses together like a tower of calories. It's fantastic. Everybody has their own little things that they do in the autumn season that's fun, Halloween, autumn related. If you have other things that you'd like to contribute, like a photo of yourself in your Halloween costume, or some kind of older photo that's kind of a good throwback, nostalgic moment, or a little bit of text. Oh, I remember this one Halloween, we were really scared because, so if you want to put in anything like that, you don't have to commit to doing a rug. You could still participate and have a stake in the book and have something of yours in the book if you have something that you want to share. I'm sure it will fit in beautifully. So we are working on that. And if you want to get involved in that, just send me an email to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. I will certainly write you back. I promise. I always do. Lisa, great to see you. Naomi, we had so much fun on Friday. It was crazy. It was so fun. It's not often enough that people with rug hooking brands like me and Naomi and Haley's in Rhode Island, Donna Swanson is out in the other side of the state. Even though there's a lot of rug hookers around, it's like we also do business talk off camera and complain talk off camera that I try not to do a lot of here, although I started the show with that. It's fun. It's fun to get together and bond and blow off some steam and talk about stuff. And I feel like Friday was the longest show I think I've ever done, but it was super fun, fooling around, drinking some wine, eating some snacks, thank you, and looking at some tools, looking at some rugs, talking about projects. It's a lot of fun. It's great for me to relax like that too, because I really need more balance in so many ways. I really do. It was great. It was such a fun time. I can send you childhood pics. Yeah, absolutely. Of you being a cat? Is that what you're saying? You being a cat? Oh, that reminds me. I can't. I just can't. But we have this classic Halloween. My mom used to make our costumes, right? And sometimes we would go to CVS, the pharmacy, and get the ones in the boxes, which are now so collectible, right? But they had everything at that time. And I'd usually be looking for something related to Scooby Doo or the Smurfs, something like that, strawberry shortcake. But I realized, even as a child, that wearing those, what are they made out of? Like plastic, but they're like paper thin, right? They're like a Dixie plate, but like molded to your face. And the lips never lined up, did they? They were like sharp and they hurt. But I figured out pretty quickly that wearing those masks was miserable, even as a child. And even in those days when it was really cold on Halloween, many, many decades later, and it's hot all the time. But yeah, it was really cold. But it was so miserable wearing those that we early on switched over to making our own costumes. And my mom wasn't really a person with a sewing machine. She wasn't like into that. So we would do inventive things. And she created a cat costume for my sister one year that I now refer to as the Snow Beast. And for some reason, this still isn't fun for my sister. I will have to show you I don't know why I'm whispering. I will have to show you the photo at some point. My sister is wearing a white sweatshirt, and my mom has gotten hold of one of those pre-cut white fake fur pieces from the craft store, right? This is probably like 1978, something like that. And she's pinned it onto her chest with safety pins onto this white sweatshirt. And she's bundled up underneath so she looks like enormous, right? And she's got this mask, and my mom glued on some of the bits of fur, and it looks like some of it's falling off. It's incredible. I mean, it's just incredible. My sister still, she's like touchy about it, because it was hilarious. But we all have those kinds of photos. I better not put that in the book, or that will always be a thing with us, because I've already mentioned it too many times in my life, and she doesn't think it's funny anymore. But you'll see how funny it is when I find that photo. I think I have it scanned somewhere. But yeah, funny childhood photos. I have plenty that are. I was Mae West one year, borderline inappropriate, but super funny costume. Just a little kid. But yeah, send those photos. Did you ever have, when you were young, a come as you are party? Because kids don't do that anymore. And it's probably because they're like never dressed properly, and it would be like if you actually came as you are, somebody would be arrested. But we used to have those a lot in our neighborhood, the come as you are party. They would just call, the phone would ring, it would be like, come as you are party at my house. And the mom would have already been prepared with like tons of baking and cooking and there's food out. And you would walk over, like presumably in your embarrassing underoos or something like that, you know, and we just sit around and play board games and eat food. It was, those were so fun and funny, spontaneous stuff, so funny, you know. God, the days that are gone, right? Will we ever be able to repeat that kind of silly, harmless fun in this crazy world where I'm worried about my child camping out in someone's backyard, right? Crazy. Karen says, I was always a gypsy with a pinned up full skirt of my mom's, a shawl, and lots of junk jewelry. That's so perfect, isn't it? Are you going to send a photo? That's so perfect. That was what we did back then, was find pieces for the costume, wasn't it? And I never remember, I mean, easy for me to say, but I never remember my mom being super stressed about it. She had a jewelry box, she had a closet of clothes. I don't remember her getting as keyed up as I do when the kids want to be something and I'm like, oh my God, I thought you were going to be this. I bought this 3 months ago. And I'm like crazy. And I'm thinking, oh God, how late is Joann's open? They're not open as long as they used to be. And where's the next craft store? And I'm getting all worked up. Maybe I'm just in the wrong mindset these days. Everything is like a 3 alarm fire. But I remember back then when I was a kid, it was like, yeah, you'll find between your mother's closet, your father's closet, and I have an older sister. Between those three closets, there was probably something. But yeah, things have definitely changed. Dawn, great to see you. Heidi, good morning. Happy Canada Day. Sorry, too far away for the rug, hookah rug for you. The travel back to Belgium. Up to you, Heidi. It's not that long of a turnaround. I could send you something that would get there next week. Totally up to you. No pressure. No pressure. We do have tons of time. Oh no, Karen, no photos. Oh no. Oh, that's a bummer because I can completely picture that. That was a great costume. I loved that. I just loved that. I want to hear more. I want to hear more about this stuff. I love thinking about trick or treating as a child. It's one of my favorite subjects because it was so lighthearted and fun. And it was like, even though it was just that one evening, a few hours, and it was usually preceded by a full day at school, right? That was always disappointing when that happened. It was so much fun, you know, so much fun. Till people started running around with cans of Nair, and then you'd be afraid they'd spray it on your face, and you would lose your eyebrows. Also fun, right? Fun in a different way. So, welcome back. Happy Monday. I'm thinking if I have anything really important to tell you rug-wise from over the weekend since I've been with Naomi, because we had a good old 3 hour chat. Man, was that fun. I want to do that way more often. So many things to tell you. Um, just want to remind you that Naomi's hook-in is coming up. Naomi, feel free to advertise that right here so everybody knows the date. I'm not good with dates, and now my phone is not in a reachable place since Jocelyn had it. I was working on Halloween stuff. If you remember from the Friday episode at Naomi's house, I was working on hat hair with the witch's like cone head from when she took her witch hat off. And I have that laid out for myself. And I remember that I had all of these bats, right? Bats are not roving. They're not that refined. It's carded wool that's already been dyed. They're behind me. These are all little bats that I got at the Wisconsin Fiber Festival this past year when I was with Kaz and Robin, and we were cruising around, and it was super, super fun. Um, I bought a ton of these bats, and I bought all Halloween colors because it's like my favorite color palette, and I'm going through them now to work on that project because while I want the witch's face to be really refined and kind of sculpted looking, so I'm going to do that in wool. I want the background to be this soft, hazy blitz of color, all mellow and non-distinct. So I'm going to use my bats. With roving is like the next evolution of finishing wool as a product after bat. So bat is just carded and it's wound up like a soft spool that's sticking to itself, right? And you just kind of unroll it and it makes like a long piece of like thick toilet paper, right? It's like rolled like that, like, but it's thin. So I'm going to be looking at this, and I'm going to be making a video later on using bat for rug hooking. I was hoping to use my drop spindle and just twist it a little bit so it has a little bit of a twist. But man, I can't find it, and I'm not going to spend any more time looking at it because life is busy enough. So I'm literally just ripping off shreds of the cotton candy quality bat and just rolling it and twisting it in my fingers to get it to a place where I can hook it. And it hooks very, very well. My biggest problem at this moment, and we talk about this all the time also, I have about 10 plus different frames that I use. With hooking bat and roving, I really do not want the back of the hooking to touch the combs of the frame. So I think what I'm going to problem, right? And I know, yes, I can use this stuff, whatever that I always for press and seal, right? Um, I just want to avoid that whole nightmare of risking it catching on the back and changing the height of the loops on the front because it's so soft and vulnerable, you know. But I'm thinking about that because I think what I'm going to do to solve that problem is just hook the center of it first. And maybe however much I can fit on my frame that I use all the time. And then I might switch to a giant hoop just because I'm too scared, right? I don't want to take any chances and I don't want to have to hook areas twice because that's not a good use of time for me right now. But it will be fun to do a piece that involves hooking mostly with wool bat because it is wild and loose and electric, and those particular bats, these ones behind me, they have a lot of strands of like tinsel, like it's like glitter, but it's like a like angel hair, like tinsel, almost like the Angelina stuff, and confetti, like pieces of paper and confetti. I mean, there some of them are quite patterned, so I'm going to be very careful about how I proceed. I'll document it so you can see what I'm doing in case you're thinking, "Oh, Fiber Festival season coming up." I often see these bats. They're super inexpensive. You can't. These bats I think were 450, so they were a little bit more. But you can see there's a lot of color change, and although they are only carded, that's as far as the wool has evolved. There's been a lot done to them already, so there's already a lot of value in each one for me. But you often see bats that are just dyed and they're a bit looser. They're not packaged in this kind of particular way, that very sort of narrow target audience, small pieces of bat. It's going to be for someone like me who doesn't mind spending 450 for a small piece and wants a million different colors rather than five of one color. So it comes in all different forms, but you'll see when you go to the fiber festivals, the bat and the roving are very inexpensive compared to wool yarn that's been more refined. So if you can see your way, and I'll record videos to help you, to hooking with it and using it in that fluffier form, you're going to make a huge savings on your pieces, right? You have to come to peace with how to hook it with your comb frames, and you have to come to peace with the fluffy quality of it. So I'm going to record some videos that'll help with those speed bumps. And it might be that you think, man, I'm going to hook with this stuff all the time. It hooks up so fast because it's so fluffy, right? So something to think about. Ryan, great to see you. Yeah, those are the ones, Naomi, from my bag. Naomi says the Naugatuck Valley hook-in is September 21st, 10 to 4 at the Elks Club in Naugatuck, Connecticut. Right, so you can ask Naomi about that. I will be there. There's a few other vendors who will be there. Nancy at Fluffy Peachy Bean. Am I saying that the right way? Um, um, Yankee Peddler, right? Is it Yankee Peddler? I think it's Yankee Peddler, also Connecticut. Really, really good vendors that you don't see every day. Um, least of all me, because I'll mostly have books and very little supply wise, because I'll be on my way to Tigger and to my book launch. So quite a few things happening in that time, but I will certainly be there having some fun. Yeah, oh, it's great to see you, Ryan. It's already in the 90s there. Holy mackerel. Michelle, Ryan, if you would ever like to meet up, that is a very nice idea. I bet the two of you would have a ton of fun together. Yankee Peddler, Fluff and Peachy Bean. Yeah, it's going to be a really fun event. If you're anywhere nearby, see if you can make it. That's coming up in September. A full month later on October 20th, is my book party in the Berkshires at the Red Lion. I still don't have the tickets up for that. I have not been able to catch up yet. I will. It'll be soon. It's still miles away. But that's coming up. You haven't missed it. So all of that happening. I think that's it for now. I am putting together a couple of classes that I've been thinking about over the weekend. I think the first one we're going to do after our last great brainstorming session will be a design like, and it will have a photography angle. I think that's a great idea. Um, I got brainstorming with my husband this weekend too. He's Dutch, and we were talking about a Dutch photographer. I'm trying to think of the name of the guy. Bresnet, Bresh. I don't know if I'm going to get it. I don't have it locked. I don't have it locked in my visual memory at all. But a Dutch photographer who was really well known at the dawn of photography years for this would be a great way to start the class for taking photographs to use as studies for his paintings. He was actually a painter, but he was using one of the first people to use photography to make the study, bring the photograph to the studio instead of a live subject, and create a painting based on the photograph. And what's so curious about this particular photographer slash painter was that he pointedly removed ugly things from the photo. For example, streets of London, right? Making it look more like a Dickensian fairy tale. Not that Dickens is always a fairy tale, right? He's often very bleak, but taking out smokestacks and ragged people and things that were miserable and sad, and creating an idealized image, right? So that's very Victorian, but interesting, right? Interesting. I can see how we could talk about photography and composition for rug making from the very early dawn through some of the more famous photographers and just use their aesthetics in terms of how they created compositions as a baseline for ideas for rug making, right? That could be a really interesting episode, and it will be a very interesting episode. So I will start working on that. I'm also going to start working on a new series that will be a monthly series, and it's going to be an inspiration, drawing, design, sitting in series. I'm not sure what to call it yet, and I'm brainstorming ideas. So if you have any ideas, let me know. But what I'm thinking is like, when we run these design like classes, it won't be a design like. We often go down rabbit holes for a long spell, and there's not a lot of there's not a lot of extra time built in to go down rabbit holes. And I was thinking, if we were writers and not rug makers, there would be available online all of these great online workshops and videos with prompts. When you're a writer, someone gives you a prompt, right? I try to do that with our group projects like the Halloween book. Let me give you a prompt. This is what I need, right? So it has a shape, and you're thinking, okay, I know exactly what to do. I want to do it. I want to participate, right? But there's not enough situations with prompts, I think, for rug makers, because I think some people work better doing original designs or customizing commercial patterns when you in your mind have that kind of flexibility and confidence, right? And I was thinking about creating a monthly class that is more of a shapeshifter of a class, a bit more fluid, and an all inspiration class where you can work on designing during it if you would like. Uh, all the classes are recorded always. But I thought, what if we did a class that was like the equivalent of a writing prompt, but for visual artists, in our case, textile artists? And what if the first one was something like um, a theme like summer at the lake, right? For example, seasonal. And the class consisted of um, poetry, right? Visual prompts, things that I would put into the slideshow. Um, all different kinds of prompts, right? To get you thinking about a specific thing, whether or not you've ever had a vacation at a lake doesn't really matter, right? It's a moment in time. And if the theme sounds interesting, you sign up for it. So it's like a mixed media grouping of related inspiration that comes at you, and built into every few slides there's an exercise with visual prompts. So if it's like there's a poem by, I don't know, Mary Oliver or whatever, and it's about the lake at night, right? And all the noises, and I'm sure there is a Mary Oliver poem like this, and all of the noises and the frogs jumping and fireflies and yada yada yada. And we read it, and then we look at some images, maybe some paintings, maybe some photographs, maybe some rugs, right? And then there's a stop, and there's like an exercise, like, okay, this is the kind of composition I'm thinking of. Here's a page, I'm leaving you on this page of all of these drawing cues. Here's a mason jar, here's fireflies, here's some frogs, here's some views of lakes. You know what I mean? Just as an example. And so you would end the class with maybe, I don't know, 7 to 10 drawings that are based on the theme that we were talking about, but also filled with inspiration, because you've been hearing like snippets of fiction and nonfiction and poetry, and you're flooded with all of these themey prompts that really put you in the mood of that place, right? I thought that could be a really fun kind of a class to set up with the ever-changing theme. We could be very relevant and very on target with that moment. I could do 2 more summer ones before the summer is up and get you thinking along those lines, and whether it helps you with rug design, helps you complete a rug you've already started, makes you sit down and write in your diary for 2 hours straight, or start a short story, or listen to music that you haven't heard for a long time. Doesn't really matter, because they would be inspiration classes, and you would take from them, what you need at that moment, right? And you could always watch it again in the future. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of what would be a good name for it. That it's a struggle. I like it. Sign me up for the prompting class. I love the idea too, because it's just a chance for us all to dig in, and people to say, oh, you know what that reminds me of, without totally detouring from the class and having a set thing. Um, I think it could be really fun, a more casual class than the Design Like series, which I also love, but it's a different purpose. So yeah, let's think about that. I don't think I can help with the name of the photographer. Yeah, it's Brez or Bresh something. Um, if my husband comes down, he'll tell us, but he'll say it with his, and then I won't really understand how it's spelled anyway. But we'll see how it goes. So today, we got lots of stuff, right? Frying pan fire, all that stuff. We got lots of stuff going on. But great to see you, Catherine. It's okay to be late. I love to have you anytime at all. I realized this morning I was going to go do our Priscilla Bazell stuff, and I realized we didn't finish looking at Rug Cooking Magazine because we completely stopped this issue of Rug Cooking Magazine, right? The summer one, which covers 3 months. You push the computer back a little. You're not going to notice this, but there we go. We got completely tied up with the first article by Judith McLean. Remember the article about fabulous finds and vintage rugs? And we kind of stalled there because it was such a great conversation. And the rugs that Judith chose for this particular article, and it is a long article, absolutely beautiful pieces. And what I particularly loved about this article was the fact that she was talking about William Winthrop Kent. She was talking about Pearl McGowan. She was talking about commercial patterns, right? But she was specifically saying, listen, I'm not buying these from Sotheby's. I'm buying these when I see them at shops and at yard sales. I don't have the budget, or I'm not spending that kind of money. So I'm finding ones that I think are quaint and pretty, that I have a affinity, to, and I'm putting them into my collection. And it's just nice to see a collection of hooked rugs that someone's saying, here's my collection. There's extremely varied. They're of different periods altogether, some very old, some very new. They're finished in different ways. Some are more commercial, right? There was like a Priscilla. There's a Aunt Lydia for sure. There's a bunch of different ones, but then there's some older ones as well. She talks about reproducing hooked rugs as well, and I think we saw an example. Yeah, we did see an example. I don't think I clocked this at the time, but there is this spread here where she's showing us a truly antique rug. And you see over on this page, it's got some damage. It's got some serious damage. Um, Kathy says, seems like I'm seeing more and more vintage rugs on Marketplace. It does seem like that. It might be the spring cleaning thing with people going into the garage and taking stuff away. I don't know. Doesn't it seem like when there's a trend on HGTV for becoming more of a minimalist, you know what I mean? And just tearing through your house like the Property Brothers are behind you, and you're just trashing everything and knocking down walls. Um, in those moments, it seems like I see more rugs out there. And in moments where the HGTV it really is like the pulse, sadly, and some of the antiquing channels, right, and TV shows, when you start to see these trends of shows where people are more like, I love the past. Let's look at the history of this house. Let's save as much of it as we can, right? Let me show you how to restore stuff using your own hands from Home Depot. When there's more of a trend in that kind of thought, I feel like we tend to see less rugs, less folk art, less homemade stuff in the marketplace in general, whether it's Facebook Marketplace, eBay, or shops. And there is a definite pendulum swing in trends between those two polar opposites. But it is curious. And I think it's a seasonal thing too, because I think by the time we hit fall, it's like, oh, screw it. If I didn't put it away, if I didn't find a house for it, it's going back in the attic. Whereas in the spring, you feel somehow more ruthless, right? It's like, oh man, I've been looking at you for a while, and you are on my you know what list. You're out. onto the curb, right? Curb alert. Different mindsets at different seasons for us too, which is really strange. But in this article, Judith is showing that beautiful old rug, right? And this is the beautiful old rug. And I showed you this one the other day. She reproduced it, right? So I wonder if I can show you both. No, I can't show you both at the same time because they're back to back. But she reproduced it, and it is exactly the same rug, but without the horrific tears, right? It's not just unsightly. It's like, when you're sitting living with a rug that has a lot of damage. This isn't particularly a lot of damage, but it does make you a little nervous, right? Because you're wondering like what the moth situation might be, if there's continued damage, if you will be able to shore the thing up before it completely atomizes. Sands through the hourglass, right? You keep looking at it and wondering when you're going to have time to restore it. It's not a bad idea with all of those hours of worry that you clock to just recreate it, because the recreation totally fooled me. It looks exactly like the original rug. I mean, interesting, right? Yes, Ryan, the Magpies have all shipped, so up to date on that. They shipped from, I had Judy ship them, so I sent her labels because she received them first. So I sent her labels for mine because it was quicker than her sending them to me and us sending them out, because they arrived late. So sorry about that. We're not a huge account for the printer, as you can imagine. So they were a little bit late with ours, and apologies and all that. But they are all set now. The best I could do to expedite things was to send her the individual labels, and you can imagine that took some time too. Fantastic moments on the computer. But they're all out. They're all shipped. So thank you for being patient with that. And big shout out for the next Magpie, right? We will talk about both Magpies. I've been out of stock out of the first ones for a while, but I'm expecting some more. We never did a show on the first Magpie Times. What's wrong with me? I didn't even think to do it. I do everybody else's magazine. I forgot to do my own magazine. We'll do that as soon as I get the original one. We'll do a episode on the first and second, so you can see what kind of content is in there. Funny conversation about restoring these old rugs, right? So, oh no, I know, Ryan, you're super sweetie. You never pull my chain. There are plenty of people who do pull my chain, but you are definitely not one of them. But yeah, they've all shipped. Thank God. It was super stressful, realizing they were coming in late, and yeah, and then trying to do like a giant. My husband helped because this is, yeah, more his forte than mine. Figuring out how to do a giant dump of the labels into one place so Judy could print them off without doing them individually, like hundreds, right? Yikes! Seems like, and Kat seems like, oh, yep. And Ryan said on the subject, yep. Oh, great, caught up. Sorry, just catching up the thread. On the subject of rugs that are in bad condition, right? Let's just cap off that article by saying this. So yesterday, I went to go to an outdoor flea market, the Elephant's Trunk, and I've been waiting to do this since last year. And it's the first Sunday that I wasn't teaching or away, or the kids had something that I actually could go. And I was super excited. And the forecast was rain, like in the evening, but absolutely hot and sunny, crazy summer day, because it opens at like 6, right? And people like leave at like 2. So the forecast for rain was like 5, 6 kind of thing. Drove out there. It's an hour away. Woke myself up after the night of not sleeping with my phone making that noise all night. No sleep at all. But I had said that I would go, right? And I wanted to go. So my husband wanted to go. Jocelyn wanted to go. Teddy was still on a sleepover. Definitely did not want to go. All nighter, right? And drove out there, and it was not happening. So that put me in an amazing mood, as you can imagine. So I did damage control by stopping at this indoor flea market on the way home, which doesn't always do it for me. Either people are like, all of the vendors have to be there, present, and either I feel like they're like vultures and they're riding me, and I feel pressured and I don't want any part of that. Or there's not a soul in sight and you can't ask how much something is, right? So I'm just not a fan of the indoor ones. I feel a bit claustrophobic. But there was nothing else to do in that scenario, so we did that. And I found a stall with 2 really pretty old rugs. They were both incredibly damaged. So one of them, I would have taken a photo, but it was a scenario where the guy was like on me, right? Like on me. And I didn't want to wind him up by making him think I was like super interested, because they both had so much damage I wasn't. And one of them was a leaf rug, which I always loved, but it wasn't a pattern I recognized. And it was like $45. And I thought, oh, I'll have another leaf rug. But then when I unwound it, I was like, oh my God, how is it even together at the top and bottom? Because there were so many splits down the middle. And I thought, oh man, I don't need any more. Homie doesn't want to play that game. I have plenty of those rugs right now. So I left it. I have mixed feelings about that, but I'm sure it's still there. And then he had a second one that was like a runner, not a stair runner, but like a hall runner. So it was long, and it was all geometric. And while I'm in the middle of doing these hit or miss classes, I thought, oh, this is extra interesting. But it again was split to all heck, and he wanted like $250 for it. And I'm thinking, where are you coming up with these numbers? Um, very whimsical pricing. I want to show you what I did get. Hold on. This was so, I don't know, this is not a rug, but I thought this was so pretty. And I think you are the people who are going to appreciate this. I don't know what it is about this painting that got me. Let me show you. This is what I purchased. And I know the green screen's probably playing with it, but it's a super folky painting of this woman. And I can't tell if she's in a store or what, but there's a snowman outside, although there's a green tree. And there's like a star, maybe the North Star. There's a couple of angels. There's a doll. And it says, a sign that says friends. And over here on this artsy table, there's a little wish list. And it has a little bit of a cubist feel. See how there's like one curtain here? But it's like this composition is broken up in a way that like she's here, right? And whether she's in the store or in our house just creating a vignette, hard to tell. But it's like the windows are broken up by panes, and there's a different thing in each pane. And I thought, whoa, that's a great idea for composition. Like, how smart is that? So, yeah. So for $65, I got that. That I thought was super cute. But there were rugs there, and it is hard to make a call about whether you need another rug that should go immediately into the freezer, because you just don't know, particularly in a giant place like that. You might not see moths on something, but you want to put your stuff into a bag, into the freezer for at least 3 days, at least. And then if you're having really hot weather, unfurl it right under the hot sun, right, for a few hours, right, and you'll be good. But it just makes me nervous to pick up stuff in places like that. And the older vintage rugs, it all becomes a question of, okay, even if the price is good, how can I safely display it? And or do I want to repair it? And do I actually see myself finishing it? I don't want to discourage you from buying beautiful rugs, right? Beautiful hooked rugs, because that's who we are. But ask yourself practical questions, or you end up being buried alive the way that I am, right? Warning from the world's most disgusting hoarder. Think practically about what you have the hours in the day for and whether you love the thing enough. Because sometimes I get, for myself, way overexcited when I find a hooked rug. And that's why I've ended up with so many. And there's no way in one lifetime or 100 lifetimes I could ever repair all the rugs I already have. So that's not good either, is it? Goretti, great to see you. Happy Canada Day. Oh, so stinking cute and cozy. It really is, isn't it? Kathy says, I see about 4 different rugs in that one painting. Exactly. It really got me thinking. So interesting. So, all right. So that was an amazing article. Judith McLean, that article on the vintage and antique rugs, over the top. I absolutely loved it. Now, the next article that I want to focus on in this issue of Rug Cooking Magazine is this is by Tamara Pavich. So we've talked about her quite a bit. We've had shows just on Tamara. I'm not sure where the emphasis is, but absolutely beautiful work always. This article, it's a great title. It's called A Twinkle in Your Hooking, Using Pixelated Woolens. And by pixelated, she means patterned, right? Pixelated is patterned. I hear ringing. Do you hear all that ding? Somebody's got their phone on and it's dinging like crazy. So pixelated meaning patterned, right? And by patterned, this is what we're talking about. So you probably have some of these, or maybe you have some shirts, right, that you are ruthlessly going to throw away during your spring cleaning. They are patterned, right? So in this particular article, we are referring to that as pixelating. And her definition of pixel is a minute area of illumination on a display screen, one of many from which an image is composed. Okay. So that's the definition of a pixel. But I think for all intents and purposes, if we just say patterned wool, we know what we're talking about here. So this particular article is about using patterned wool in rug hooking. So, for example, these are some of the pieces that she is referring to, and she creates a finished product that looks like this. So when you look at a runner like this, you see a lot of movement and a lot of energy even in the darker fields, and that is because there are some pixelated fabrics, right? Look back to the dark ones here, right? Even the dark ones are patterned. So because of that, the finished piece has a lot more energy than a piece that is done from all solid colors. I don't mean modeled colors. I don't mean hand painted colors. I mean true solids. True solids are very static. They do great graphic color fills, but where you want a little bit of Kathy Lynch style, right? Tamara Pavich style movement, right? Particularly with primitives, you want to think about using patterns. This is another example on the next page of other patterns that she's used. And she's going to show you a different rug with color shifts, right? Because these are slightly more blue. Maybe the monitor is not doing justice to these, but slightly different color palette. And you know what? Let me put these rugs side by side. Hang on. I'm taking you for a ride for a second. Let me put that one there, lock, and let me put this one here. Hang on. And you'll see these are using two different, sorry, I can't get rid of the side of that photo. Using two similar but different color palettes, you see they are different. They're not insanely different, but they are different. They'd go great in, when you want to do not matchy, right? Like this is an example. This is in style lately, two mismatching earrings, but they kind of go together. Well, same thing with this. They're not exactly matchy, but they do go together. Oh, Olivia, great to see you. I hope you're okay coming home from the hospital. Is everything okay? So interesting, just switching out your colors a little bit, you get different palettes, right? So super fun thing to think about. This is a great article. Hold on just a second. Let me just show you some of the other rugs in the article. There's quite a few pages, and I'm not showing you everything, right? Because I hope that you have a subscription. I hope you have this particular issue. It is just lovely, but this is another design where it's showing you patterned colors, right? You see how the inside of these, a very nice palette too, right? It's got a very strong rainbow feel to it, a very nice light neutral background. This one is Designer Unknown, hooked by Terry wait a minute, let me change my glasses. Terry Bangert, or Bangert, Bangert, of Lincoln, Nebraska. Terry used pixelated woolens, a honeycomb, for instance, to outline the petals. Yet you can see the movement on that, the outline around the petals, right? And create triangle shapes in the background of each block. Yep, also used from the patterned material. And the inside, I'm going to make this one bigger. Let's look at this together. The inside colors seem to be, hold on, let me take you for a ride again, mottled, but not necessarily patterned, if you see what I mean. Let's do even bigger. So the patterned wool that we're calling pixelated in this article is outlining the petal shapes and those little triangles north, south, east, west. And it looks to me like the colors are made up of mixed, painted, or mottled wool. Possibly more patterned wool, but not necessarily, right? Not necessarily. So hard to tell. Let me see if I have one more image from this article. No, hang on. So then let me show you this. So she's showing you stuff like this as well in this article, right? Where am I? Right here, these two. So more color, right? And it's possible that some of these slightly brighter ones are still patterned wool. Hard to tell, but lots of illustration in this article, lots of examples of using this kind of wool to make these primitive style rugs for the most part. Really interesting. Primitive is so interesting, and I've been talking about this a bit in the hit or miss class. Primitive is so interesting because it is a school of hooking, isn't it? And some people think, no, I like the finer stuff more. That's more my taste. Fantastic. It's great to know yourself, right? Apples and oranges. Thank God we're all different. But primitive sometimes doesn't get the sort of notoriety and celebration that it deserves because people tend to think it's easy to do and faster to do with the big wide strips, whether you're ripping them or doing selvages or you're cutting to an 8 or a 9 or a 10. People think, oh, it's fast, it's easy, it requires less skill, less talent, less everything. And that's not true at all. That's one of the things that I've been talking about with this hit or miss class is with primitive, there are a different set of questions, right? There's more, there are different nuances, right? And I was going to say more, but I won't say more. I'll say it's a different set of choices that you make because with primitive, right, with these big, thick pieces, if you're choosing patterned wool at all or modeled wool, you're going to notice it more, in my opinion. You're going to notice it more because you're going to see more of every loop. On the surface, you're going to get more information on every loop. It's less pixelated because there's larger pieces, right? In general. Um, and so directional hooking is much more visible and immediately noticeable than it is on pieces that are hooked in very fine cuts. So when you sit down to do a piece that is more of a primitive style piece in a wider cut, you need to be thinking about what your strips are, whether they're patterned or modeled or alternately solids. And you need to be thinking about how you want to do your fill areas because with wider pieces, people's eye will immediately see the direction that you're hooking in. Whether you like directional hooking and try to do it on purpose or not, you are directional hooking because we can see the way that your strips are going, right? Because they're so wide, we can easily and immediately see them. So different set of conversations with primitive hooking, right? And this article I think is very good bringing up some of that. This is the cover piece here, right? And this is by, I said this the other day, designed by Carla Gerard and hooked by Anita White. Absolutely beautiful paisley. We looked at this in the first episode too last Wednesday or Monday, I don't know. But because somebody in the Facebook group was talking about Carla Gerard, and I was able to say, oh, also the cover of Rug Cooking Magazine right now. She's wonderful. So this is another great. Olivia, let me know if everything's all right, or send me an email, okay? I just want to be sure you're good. So that was another great article, the Twinkle article. I liked that very much. Next article is called Use Your Illusions. And this article is by Susan Grant. And incidentally, the thumbnail for today's show is a Susan Grant image. Use your illusions, understanding transparency, luster, and luminosity. So this is a bit, we're tending to see in every issue of Rug Cooking Magazine what feels like a sincere attempt to show us articles for all levels of hooking. This is a more accelerate. This would be geared for someone who is more experienced, right? So understanding transparency, luster, and luminosity, text and photography by Susan Grant. She's saying illusion, definition, a deceptive appearance or impression. So states the Oxford Dictionary. I first came across the concept as it relates to fiber arts from Joan Wolfram's book Color Play. Although the book is about the Ives color wheel, the last chapter is about illusions and how to create them. So I'm not going to read the whole article, but let's look at some of the pieces like this one, Morning Haze, that are featured in this article. This is called Morning Haze, designed and hooked by Tony Gallagher of Annapolis Royal, Nova Scotia, 2016. So this article is about illusions, right? And there are quite a few illusions here. Transparency is the effect of light passing through a layer to an object below, right? So when you can see through something, it is transparent. Things can also be, I'm going to add further to that and say things can also be transparent. Oh, Huda, Ava, Petra, good to see you. Oh, that's okay. Forgot due to the time difference. That's okay. It's recorded, and we'll stay at this time for the summer. So, yep, I'll be here for you an hour earlier. I know it takes some time to get used to that. Things can be transparent, but they can also be transparent with a color, right? So for example, if you're a quilter and you've got that red lens thing, that red film, and you're used to hold, or a rug maker, you're used to holding up the red film to check your values, right? How saturated, what is the tone, what how dark or light is the value of the thing I'm thinking about putting in, right? Including, you're holding up a film that's red or any color, yellow, whatever, and the thing is still transparent, but there is another layer of color, right? So this is a little bit of an advanced color theory conversation, and it's handled very well in this article. We're talking about transparency in this piece. I think the clouds have a lot of movement. There does seem to be a morning haze. I haven't read the article in full. I have to. Oh, I'm glad it's good over there today. Um, I have to read through the article, but I'm thinking that the transparency angle in this particular piece refers to the haziness. Like there is like a I don't want to say film because it's not like residue film, but there is a layer of a kind of hazy heat, right? Like it's almost like a grayish heat. More for me toward gray than yellow, right? It doesn't feel like a super sunny day. It feels like a slightly cloudy day, which does make sense since the sky is a more blue gray, right? More of a stone gray. And the clouds, although there's a sunny kind of haze on the horizon, the clouds are both slightly sunny but slightly gray. I'm going to have to read the article, but this is a very evolved conversation. And for the sake of my own stupidity, I will say that if you are not advanced and you really want to enjoy this article in full, you might want to think about and add onto your sort of reading list of homework the idea of marrying colors together. Because if we're talking about this particular piece having transparency, yes, we're talking about language, right? It's how to relay that in language. Is there actual transparency here? No. What does work when you want to make your piece have the look that the whole thing is hazy? It makes sense to marry your colors together, all with one color. If you want sunny heat haze, hot and humid, you want like a yellowy golden color. If you want more of a storm is coming in, you might want more of a gray or a bluey stone color. But the thought of marrying color together, oh, Heidi and Petra are talking. Ah, um, it's exciting. I'm practicing my Dutch while I'm reading. You can think about marrying colors, right? It's this is a beautiful and slightly sort of accelerated article for people who have a bit more experience, not just in rug hooking but in color theory. So the thumbnail that I used today for the show was called Mystery Flower, and I included all the information about that in the tag for the show and in the Facebook group Designed and Hooked by Susan Grant. For example, this page we're looking at two different pieces. On the top, two circles. This is a number 6 cut wool on linen, designed and hooked by Susan Grant of Acton, Ontario. And on the bottom, this piece is called Transparency. And this is a number 4 and number 6 cut wool on linen, also hooked and designed by Susan Grant. Um, so both of these are examples of color theory that if you're interested in learning more of, I can only refer you to one person, and that person is Paul Klee, Klee, Paul Klee. We've done a design like about Paul Klee because we are talking about colors overlapping other colors and where they meet in the middle. So this is a super interesting article about color theory, about how to use color and color transparency in your rug hooking. It is a bit, it is advanced, but it is useful. It is useful even for a beginner. If you're interested at all in color theory, it's a beautiful article with beautiful examples. It crosses over into a lot of other conversations, and yeah, don't be overwhelmed by the language because we are still talking about the same things we're always talking about. Don't come on camera. You don't have enough clothes on. Love you. We are talking about the same things we're always talking about in rug hooking, right? Color values, marrying colors. For example, this is a great piece, right, where the color value the saturation. One color goes from a lower saturation to a deeper saturation. right? All referring back to the color wheel. We talked about this in the hit or miss class too. The idea that with colors, right? I'm still talking about this article. The idea that with colors, if you look at a color wheel and you look in the center, usually it's light on the border and darker in the center. Sometimes you get reversed color wheels where it's vice versa. But let's say it's dark in the center and lighter on the edge. Don't make noise, Jess. Don't make noise. I'm running a show right here. So for example, with the color blue, if we have such a light blue on the border, it's like it almost looks like a pastel, and following it through to the center is such a dark blue, it looks more than navy, it looks almost black. It is that one color of blue, and other colors like white and black have not been mixed to it. Because if you add white or black, we're talking about a different color altogether. We're talking about an infinite number of different colors. With a color wheel, in theory, we're just talking about the one color, right? So we're talking about not just color theory and saturation in this article, but we're talking about the overlapping of colors, and that's just the blending of colors. This is something that's very doable for us in rug hooking because you already know how to get these two colors, right? It's a combination of these two. And this color in the middle is a combination of these two. Paul Clay for all of your color needs. And the piece that I had on the screen just a minute ago is another gorgeous piece in this article, Shirley's Girls, number 2 to number 5 cut wool on linen, designed and hooked by Susan Grant of Acton, Ontario. So beautiful portrait. And I think what we're talking about in this particular piece, let me see if I think I have another photo to support this. Yep, this photo. So this is a spot dyed background for Shirley's Girls. So take this in one more time, and then, actually no, let me just do this again. Let me move this over here and bring you back here. And if you look at the background to this, it is that material. So optical illusion, right? I'm sure this ties into the conversation, but again, I haven't read the article. I've just skimmed over it for the show. Oh, Marilyn, great to see you. You were just looking at this magazine this morning. It really is a great issue. It's got lots going on for all levels of skills. This is another great example from the same article by Susan Grant, light bulb. And again, in the same way as the other shades, it's showing you hooking from a lighter value to a darker value of the very same color, right? Not just banging out all of the grays that you've got, but all values of the same color. Some of you logged on late, so I'm going to keep going through so that we're done with this particular issue. Not that I'm longing to be done, but might as well, for the sake of completeness, shoot through a little bit further. I'm shooting forward to the section that is known as the Reader's Gallery, which I really love. A Tale of Twin Hookers, Celebrating Sisterhood in Uncle Sam by Jane Hutchison, photography by Jeff Sessler, Chromatic Identity. So that's the brand name. And the article starts like this. Let me come back to you here for a second. Once upon a time, there was a pair of identical twin sisters. One of the sisters was learning to hook drugs, and she wanted her sister to join her. Instead of the beginning of a fairy tale, this is a true story. I started hooking rugs in 2001 and loved it, and I wanted my sister Annie to join me in this adventure as she had joined me in so many before. We could go all over the country doing rug hooking camps, different shows, right, different places, learning different tricks from different people. I'm paraphrasing a ton right here. We did that for a while, but it wasn't long before Annie wanted to start our own business. I said, if we want to do something, we have to have some kind of hook. I really did say this, and no pun was intended. I was very serious. This sounds like an adorable article. Again, I have to read this. I'll probably read this in bed tonight. So in any case, this is about sisters who are hooking, in this case, Uncle Sam. So very similar pieces. This particular one is Uncle Sam number 1. This is 19 by 59, hooked from number 6 to number 8. Wool, red and white, beading around the border, very nice. And this was designed by Annie Kennedy and hooked by Jane Hutchison, 2005. This was the first chair rug and became the prototype for many others. I just think this is so clever. I have not seen this yet. I also love the garland of red stars on the sides. I mean, this is a great primitive piece, so charming, so much fun. And then the companion to it is this piece, which is designed by Annie Kennedy and hooked by Jane Hutchinson. So it looks like Annie's designing. Let me just double check myself. And Jane is hooking. Hold on one second. Jane. Yep. And at least in these two instances. So this is 12 by 61 by 6, 12 by 61, number 6 to number 8 cut again. And Sam's pet eagle, George, is wearing his favorite Betsy Ross Stars and Stripes flag. Sam has 50 stars on his hat. Oh, how cool is that? It looks so great against this particular chair, doesn't it? I love these two. These are so fun. I love the idea. So this one is shaped, right? Did you notice that? This one is not, but this one is shaped. It reminds me of Flat Stanley. You know that kid's book? So cute. I really love this idea because I think a lot of us have two things going on. I have a lot of chairs sitting around that don't have anything on them, right? And in theory, it would be cool to have something like this sitting on the chair. I also have a lot of chairs sitting around that the children and the pets have decimated and are disgusting and covered with mysterious stains that nobody needs to look at. And it would be great to put a rug over it, you know, when people are not using it. You know, I wouldn't want the kids necessarily doing their thing on a rug, you know, just judging from the upholstery on the chairs already. But I think this is a great way to cover stuff up and to add character to the room. It shows such humor. Right, Cat's Gallery. My daughter-in-law is expecting identical twin boys this month. Oh, congratulations. How fun is that? Identical twin boys. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good. That sounds so good. I was so happy when I had mine. I was hoping to have twins, and I was hoping to have more. So that sounds like an absolute dream. Congratulations. I love his little feet too. These are really fun pieces. That was an absolutely fantastic article, very different. I'm looking forward to reading that. This is another article that is more for the advanced hooker, I think. Designer Showcase, right? So that really says it all. A grand affair. That's the title of the article. A passion for set design informs the rug making process. Okay. Text and photography by Nancy Thun, Thun. This is a gorgeous rug. So my first rug, Acadia, 36 by 18, backed by primitive linen and hooked on a 9-inch embroidery hoop. Hooked on a 9-inch embroidery hoop. This is absolutely beautiful. I love this piece. Very abstract. Lots of movement, right? Great color palette as well. Very mysterious, isn't it? Acadia. That's absolutely gorgeous. I think I said Arcadia. I'm recording a show. Right, they're fighting in the kitchen about pancakes. Hope you didn't hear that. This is another interesting article. I know we've seen this piece before, so this is something that we are seeing again. I think it was in Rug Hooking Magazine last time as well. Sand, Sea, Boardwalk, and Me. So this is a hand-dyed wool yarn on rug warp piece designed and hooked by Nancy Thun of Hoboken, New Jersey, 2021. You can see by the drawing that's happening here, the design on rug warp, this is a more technical feature, but this feature seems like it's going to show you different elements. Let's come back here of design and of the sort of practical journey between having an idea, getting it down on paper, and transferring it onto your rug. So she talks about projection, finalizing and projecting images, and tracing in that way. That is one way of doing it, right? That is one way of doing it. That is not my personal favorite way of doing it, but everybody has their own way and figures it out. It's great to hear all of the ways, so you can choose your best way, right? Your best way is going to be based on knowing all of the choices, right? Not just knowing the way that I do stuff, even though I can only speak from my own experience. Everybody has to do things their own way, so it's great to have information, technical information about how to do things with projection. So that is in here. It seems to me, while this article is very technical, it seems to me that it really is about the idea of taking photography, choosing the lines that you want to choose, projecting it, and including only the lines that you want, right? I'm putting it into a crucible and burning it right down. But I'm not sure that the article is as technical as it might seem. So make sure you spend some time with it and I'm trying to get a feel for it. It is a little bit hard for me to get a feel for this article because I have a degree in set and costume design, and I'm still not making the jump in my head between. I mean, I've designed a lot of sets too. I'm still not making the jump between designing a set and designing a rug. I'm not sure why, but obviously everybody works differently too. So in this on this page, Nancy is showing. Let's move forward a little bit. Nancy's showing, for example, Tennessee Williams. Wait a minute, Glass Menagerie set on the bottom, um, and then the model for the set. And maybe she's talking about turning this into a rug design. Um, I think the article is probably going to be about. Uh, I think this article is going to be most applicable if you think if thinking in a three-dimensional way is appealing and is the way that your mind works. If your mind works in a more flat two-dimensional way, maybe parts of this article. I think weirdly, I think mine does work more two-dimensional because again, I haven't read it, but I'm having a hard time making the leap between a set and something that I would want to set down on paper because I'm so careful design-wise to be setting down things that are very specific to the medium of rug making. So I'm looking at a design and tailoring it toward it being two-dimensional and not three-dimensional. So, but maybe she's, I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm not quite getting it, but it is a beautiful looking article. And I think, let me see if I put one more. Um, let me read the beginning of it. So maybe it will make a bit more sense. She's doing a lot of cool photography in it, and she's showing you again her very particular process between doing a photograph, peeling the lines off the photograph, which you do with tracing paper, right? If you have a photograph that you want to work from, I'm putting this into a crucible and burning it down, so it's also for utter beginners. If you have a complicated photo like this, like a mountainscape or a landscape with a lot happening, if you're comfortable in your computer, right? And I'm not, so this is why this is like baby talk. But sometimes you can have your photograph and change the levels of light and dark and contrast and shadows and highlights and even color. And sometimes when you change levels, you come up with something that's way easier to read. When I figure out how to look at something that I'm trying to work from with better lines, then I print it off on the computer and I put a piece of tracing paper over it and I trace the lines. And I say, okay, I got it, right? I got these lines because my photograph wasn't getting me there. I needed to fool with the colors on the computer and I needed to be looking at it different, sometimes reversed. Sometimes reversed is the first thing you should try. What is an app you can recommend? The only app I know how to use is paint.net, right? I know how to use others. I know regular paint, but I prefer paint.net. It does more with different layers, and once you get used to using the layers, you'll find it is really easy and fun to make changes and substitutions with it. It's for everyone, because if it's for me, right, like it's for everyone. Paint.net, and it should come, I think, on your computer. I know I didn't buy anything for this computer because I would have to figure out how to buy something for the computer. So when I bought this computer, it's just a plain laptop. It was already on there as part of like the suite, right? But it works great, and I like it way better than the original paint. I find the original paint, I find I can't choose sections, and I crop, and when I crop it, it cropped the part I didn't want to crop. Do you know what I mean? But paint.net has way more choices and way more drop-down boxes, and I find it much easier to use. So you know what? Let me do justice to this article by let me just read the beginning so we get a feel for what it's about, because it's hard. A grand affair, passion for set design informs the rug making process. I'm not sure what it's about. So let's see. I have trained and worked in the arts my entire life. By profession, I am a freelance set and costume designer. So exactly the same background that I have. Isn't that crazy? Not a lot of people are like trained set and costume designers. I think that Nancy's using hers more than I'm using mine. I'm only using mine to make Halloween costumes. So good going. It's hard to use theater experience and degrees at this point. So she says, I have trained and worked. Okay, by profession, I'm a freelance set and costume designer for the theater. This has involved work in both the sculptural world of the set, so three-dimensional set building, in the fiber arts world of costumes. I have also trained in textile design, watercolor, and illustration. Jack of all trades, master of none. It's good to be like good, have a working knowledge of a lot of different things, right? Because this is a thrift craft, and you find that you need both practical, hands-on knowledge and confidence, as well as creative confidence, right? Like, oh, I did that. It's kind of like that, right? I'm a quilter, or I did some cross stitch, so I'm probably going to be able to do this too, right? It's good to have that kind of crossover jack of all trade thing happening. So in the summer of 2007, I saw an exhibition of rug hooking at the New York State Fair. Oh, interesting. I knew nothing of this craft, but was fascinated. This remained a percolating thought until the summer of 2009, when I walked into a camp store in Acadia National Forest and saw the owner hooking with yarn. Yarn! My brain exploded. I had already been drawn to the look of the treetops circling above my campsite. I left the camp store, went back to my site, and took pictures. I taught myself to hook on the internet. Thank you, Jean Shepherd, and purchased yarn at the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival. By Christmas, I'd finished my first piece. That was that first piece. I'll show it to you again. It has been nonstop ever since. Theater is a communal art, but I have also always pursued my own individual expression through several mediums. Although nothing really grabbed me, hooking hit the spot. I was once told by an art teacher that I saw the world in black and white, in defined blocks of tone and color. Until that point, I thought the world was what it was and everyone saw the same thing. Suddenly, I realized that the works of various artists look different because people actually see life differently then execute what they see. Learning to truly see, then portray what I see has been the basis of my art. Okay, so I'm getting a better feel for it now. Let's look at the first rug again, because I want to kind of stay mired in practical conversation here for us, since we are all different levels of awesomeness. So this is that from the campsite, looking up at the canopy of trees. This is that first rug. Very abstract, moody, very atmospheric, really lovely. It is a beautiful article. I think it's a designer showcase, right? It's a designer showcase article, so it's going to be about the designer. It's going to be about Nancy. So that article, maybe for beginners, has less applicable stuff that will cross over to your life. But Rug Hooking Magazine, I just noticed that Judy put an ad for Magpie Times in. I was talking to you and I looked down and I saw this in Rug Hooking Magazine. I didn't even know that it was there. I was super confused. Did you see the look on my face? Um, Rug Hooking Magazine does and should cover lots of different aspects of rug hooking. And I think the idea of having a designer showcase is great because from person to person, you're able to learn, in this case about Nancy, her background, her working process. It might not be the same as yours. It might not be applicable at all. But it is always curious and interesting to know how someone got from point A to point B and what's going on inside their head. Getting that kind of personal insight, matching someone's background to the way that they have figured out how to work, particularly someone who taught themselves, I think is always really interesting and helpful. So Rug Hooking Magazine, and I hope it stays this way, right? Because it's changing leadership again. I hope it stays this way. I like having the different articles in it that have a different focus. It's not a how-to book, right? Some stuff shows you how to do it, baby. Some stuff shows you, this is a designer. Let's meet this designer. Let's see how they work and what they're interested in. These are some events that are happening. This is some stuff for sale. Here's a technique. Here's something you can do if you like dyeing. Right? It's a real mix of things, and I really like that. I like the variety of it, and I hope that stays the same. We ran over, and I better get back into the dye kitchen so I don't get more people who ordered stuff 3 days ago writing to me and asking me for the order. I'm stopping. I'm sorry. Because that always stresses me out so much. I think I'm doing so great and juggling so well, and then I'll get something like that. It's like, really? All right. So anyway, I will see you all on. I won't see you on Friday because we're going to be in. I'll post in all of our groups. Let me just put my phone on real quick, take it off airplane mode, and I'll give you an idea of when we'll be back together again for a long weekend show. Just opening up the calendar because I forgot. Happy Canada Day one more time, everybody. So our Independence Day here in the U.S. is on Tuesday. I am headed to Vermont Wednesday the 3rd, 4th, 5th. We come back on the 5th. I have nothing on the 6th. I told the kids, oh, you know, let's do Sunday the 7th because I feel like I told the kids we could have a movie night in the backyard this week. Um, and in case that happens, to be continued. But my plan, I'm going to put it on the calendar right now, is to do live show, to do cocktail time on Sunday night, Sunday, July 7th. So let's go for that for the moment. But keep an eye. I always post both in the Facebook group, Rug Cooking and Punch Needle Club, and I sent a message to the YouTube subscribers. So be sure you're one or the other so you get the message. But I'm going to plan to do a live show at 7 p.m. on this coming Sunday night, the 7th, instead of Friday, because otherwise I'll be racing home, and if I get stuck in traffic and get stressed, it's going to turn into one of those mementos. So have a great afternoon, everybody. I would like to get the magazine. I don't know how. So Carol, go on to Ribbon Candy Hooking. So Ribbon Candy Hooking is my shop, and it's the first thing you see when you enter Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'll show you ribboncandyhooking.com. It's for sale there. We are small. This is only the second issue that is coming out now. I will probably put it into my Facebook store soon. But you see, if you're on your phone, as soon as you open Ribbon Candy Hooking, that there's a few things that go around. There's a carousel of 3 products, and that's one of the products. It's the goat cart. This was some of these are older products. I'm gonna have to update that. But it's on that carousel right at the top of the page. Same thing if you go into it on the laptop, ribboncandyhooking.com. And it's one of the things right at the top, and you can actually click on it, and it brings you right to the page. And the page is the current issue, and then you'll see a link right below that, the cover that I just showed you with the girl in the garden for the first issue if you want the back issue too. This is only the second issue coming out so far. Make sure that you're writing to me and working on your ideas for the third issue, the fall issue. Harvest theme, country fair theme, vegetables, animals, wool, spinning, weaving, all of that stuff coming up in the third issue. I'm not getting as much content, and I know it's summertime and everyone's busy, but I'd love to know that there are some people working on some pieces for that particular issue, because I want to be sure that issue is as good as the first 2. It keeps getting better and better. I hope that you'll be part of that too. I will see you all on Sunday night, and in the meantime, I'm at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. Have a great Canada Day. Have a great 4th of July. Be looking for some new videos on the Ribbon Candy Hooking channel.